האם זה באמת סגולה בדוקה? הסגולה ללמוד בזה?
Erev Tov, good evening. Dober Vietcher. We are in the Zera Shimshon on Parshas Lech Lecha. We're going to do Os Daled, section number 4. It's a small section, but really a beautiful, beautiful piece that will make us appreciate Eretz Yisrael even more than we already appreciate Eretz Yisrael. Before we begin, let's take a look at the first pasuk in our Parsha. This is Perek Yud Beis pasuk Aleph. Vayomer Hashem el Avram, and Hashem said to Avram, Lech Lecha, you should go for yourself, Me'artzecha, from your land, Umimoladetecha, and from your birthplace, Umibeis Avicha, and from the house of your father, El Haaretz Asher Areka, to the land that I will show you, which of course meant Eretz Canaan, as Hashem revealed to Avram. That's where Hashem wanted Avram to go, to Eretz Canaan. So let's get right into the Zera Shimshon. Perish Rashi. Rashi explains, Lech Lecha, go for yourself, Lahanooscha uletovoscha, v'chule, for your pleasure and for your benefit. V'chan iyata zocha lebonim. And here, if you remain here and you don't leave, you will not merit children, v'chule, etc. Mashma miperusho, it implies from Rashi's explanation, she'im ha'yu misakev chan, if he had stayed, if he had remained where he was, lo yeh lo bonim klal, he would not have had any children at all. So Rashi seems to say that Hashem's message to Avram was, you need to leave for your own good, you need to leave your familiar surroundings and your birthplace, and you need to travel to Eretz Canaan, because otherwise you will not have children, you will not be able to bring children into this world. V'achar kach, and afterwards, the next pasuk, Perish Rashi explains, Lefi shahaderech goremes v'chule. Rashi says that long journeys and travel cause a person to be fatigued and be weakened, mimaetes pirya urivia, and this decreases the ability of the person to be fruitful and to multiply, to bring children into the world. Ulechoch hivticho, and therefore Hashem promised him, v'chule, etc., al habonim, that he would have children. So Hashem gave Avram a special haftacha, a special promise that even though he was going to make this long, arduous, difficult journey to Eretz Canaan, Hashem would make sure that he would still be able to have children. The mashma, this implies, she'im ha'yu misakev kan, if he had remained where he was without taking this long, difficult journey, yiyu lo banim, then he would have had children. V'rak lefi shahaderech goremes, and it was only because the journey was so hard that it caused him to perhaps not have children. Sorech sheyavtichehu. That's why Hashem needed to give him a special promise about having children. V'nimtzeu divrei Rashi sastre ahadodi. So we find that Rashi's comments contradict each other. This is what some of the commentators ask on Rashi. So let's make sure we understand the question that the Zera Shimshon is opening with and presenting us with. The Torah starts, the Parsha starts with Hashem telling Avram to leave his birthplace, his land, his father's house, leave it all and travel to Eretz Canaan. And Hashem says, Lech Lecha, go for your own benefit. How would going to Eretz Yisrael be for Avram's benefit? So Rashi explains in his first comment that if he stayed where he was and he didn't leave, he wouldn't have children. So Hashem was saying, travel to Eretz Canaan, and there you will be blessed with children. You'll be able to have children. But then on the next pasuk, where the Torah says that Hashem gave Avram a special promise to be able to have children. Rashi says, why did Avram need that special promise? Because he was going on this long journey, this long, difficult trip. And that makes it hard for a person, that weakens a person and makes it difficult for them, makes it less likely for them to be able to procreate. And therefore, Hashem gave him the special promise. Well, that seems to say that the real difficulty wasn't where he lived, but rather it was this long trip he was undertaking. If that's the case, he could have stayed where he was and he wouldn't have taken a long trip and he would have been able to have children. That's the implication from Rashi's second comment. So we see a contradiction. What would have happened if Avram stayed and didn't leave his own country, his own homeland? According to Rashi's first comment, he would not have had children. According to Rashi's second comment, he would have had children because he would have been spared this very long and difficult trip. That contradiction is the Zera Shimshon's question and the problem that he wants to resolve for us. Next paragraph. V'nir elisaretz, and it would appear that we can answer b'mai de amrinan b'perakama de Rosh Hashanah, with that which Chazal say in the first chapter of the tractate of Rosh Hashanah. Arba'a divarim mikarim gizardino shel adam. There are four things that can tear up a bad decree against a person, and we'll enumerate those four in a moment. V'yesh omrim, and some people say af shinoi makom, even changing your place where you live can be a fifth way to tear up a decree, a bad decree, a gezerah ra, a gezar din, negative gezar din against a person. Well, why does the second opinion add shinoi makom? Shenemar comes right from our Parsha, because it says in the Torah, Lech Lecha, you should go, v'chulei, etc. V'hadar, and afterwards it says, V'escha legoy gadol, and I will make you into a great nation. So you see that Abraham, where he was, had a decree that he would not have children. That was the negative decree, the negative gezar din. But Hashem said, change your place, shinoi makam, change your location, move to a different country, and then escha legoy gadol, then I will turn you into a great nation. You'll have children, you'll have descendants, children, grandchildren, etc. So the second opinion in the Gemara over there points to that pasuk and says that shows you that shinoi makam, changing your location, can remove a bad decree from a person. Ve'idach, and the other school of thought, meaning the first school of thought that listed four things a person can do to change his a gezerah ra that was against him, but did not list shinoi makam, changing his location. So how does that opinion explain what it seems to say in our Parsha? Hahu zuchusa de Eretz Yisrael hu de ahanyale. The first school of thought says it wasn't that Avram changed his location, it was that he went to Eretz Yisrael. And that's why the zuchus of Eretz Yisrael, the merit of being in Eretz Yisrael, called Eretz Canaan, of course, at that time, that's what made it so that Avram could have children. Not the fact that he went from a different place to come to Eretz Yisrael, just the fact that he ended up in Eretz Yisrael. Let's imagine, hypothetically, he had already lived in Eretz Yisrael, so then Avram would have had children because of the schus of being in Eretz Yisrael, and he would not have needed to change his place. So now, what are the four things? Tzedakah, the first one is giving tzedakah. Tze'aka, calling out to Hashem. Tefillah, crying out and calling out to Hashem. Shinoi Hashem, changing a person, changing his or her name. And Shinoi Maisa, and changing a person, changing his or her actions in a dramatic way, as if to become a new person, you begin to act in a totally different manner. And now it's as if you're a new person. So the first opinion in the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah says those are the four ways that it changes that a person, things that a person can do, I should say, to remove, to be mevatel, to nullify a gezar din, a negative ruling from Shemayim against them. Then the second opinion comes along and says, yes, it's true, those four are correct. And in addition to those four things, the tzedakah, the tzedakah, the charity, the davening, the changing the name, the changing the actions, in addition to shinoi makom, changing a person's place. So the Zera Shimshon says, keep in mind that machlokas, that argument from the Gemara and Rosh Hashanah, those two different opinions. Now he continues, ve'af anu nomar, and we can say, shelefi ha'emes, in truth, im haya Avraham misakev kan, if Avraham had remained where he was, lo haya lo bonim b'zeh hamakom, he would not have had children in that place, shaya omed achshav, where he was at that point. He would not have been able to have children had he remained where he was. However, Avram didn't have to make some long, incredibly difficult trip. He could have moved from where he was to another location, a different place that would be close by. So he could do a much less dramatic shinoi makom. He could simply change his place without doing a trip that was very rare in those days, to travel all the way from Mesopotamia, present-day Iraq, all the way to Eretz Canaan. B'li kol kach Torah haderech, and he could have avoided all of the difficulties of this journey, kamo leleches laEretz Yisrael, that were involved in traveling all the way to Eretz Yisrael. Shehaderech go remes. When you take a trip like that from Mesopotamia to Eretz Yisrael, don't forget, no airplanes, no trains, no buses, no cars, not even bicycles. You're talking about either riding on camels or donkeys or walking. Most people walked. So therefore, it was an incredibly difficult, long trip. And such a trip causes a person to make it difficult and less likely that they're going to be able to have children. And that's why Rashi says Hashem had to give him a promise about having children, leman de omar de shinoi makom moil. According to the second opinion in the Gemara and Rosh Hashanah, who adds the change of location can be effective to be mavatel a gezar din. So Zera Shimshon is saying that if you follow the second school of thought that shinoi makom really makes a difference for a person, then Avraham could have simply changed his location from where he was to the next town over, to a different town or a different city, a different area, and he wouldn't have needed to make the whole trip to Eretz Canaan, and he could have avoided all of the negative ramifications of such a difficult and long trip. Aval, next paragraph, aval mikom makom yesh lomar, but nevertheless, we can say, sheshinoi makom eino moil klal, perhaps changing your place from just one place to another place, meaning not involving Eretz Yisrael, just changing your place. So a person who lives in California moves to New Jersey, or a person who lives in America moves to Europe, you make a change, you make a big change, but it has nothing to do with Eretz Yisrael, then we might say that doesn't help at all. Kisvaras Tanakama, which follows the reasoning of the first opinion in the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah, who lists four things but does not list shinoi makom. V'lachein omar lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and therefore Hashem said to Avram, Af im tishanem mekomcha, even if you change your location, v'telech l'makam acher, and you go to a different place, ein ato yodea bevada, you cannot know definitely, you cannot know with certainty that such a change of location will be effective for you. What you need is a special merit of the place you are moving to. Dahainu shetelech le'eretz Yisrael. That's why Hashem said you need to move to Eretz Canaan, which was Eretz Yisrael. V'zeh shekosav Rashi, and this is reflected in what Rashi wrote. V'chan iyata zoche lebanim. Here, if you stay where you are, you will not merit to have children. Rashi could have said you will not have children, but Rashi said you will not merit to have children. Why did he use the word merit? Dafka zoche. Because Rashi was saying, Hashem was telling Avram that he specifically needed a special merit, a special zechus to be able to have children. What was the special zechus? The zechus of Eretz Yisrael, the special merit of being in Eretz Yisrael. So therefore, Rashi's two comments do not contradict each other. Rashi's two comments simply reflect the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was saying to Avram, there are two schools of thought in your situation. One school of thought says, all you need to do is to move from one place to another place, and it would be better if you don't have such a long trip involved, because a long trip could make it hard for you and may give you more difficulty in bringing children into the world. But you should change your place. And that's according to the viewpoint that Shinoi Makam is very powerful and effective to be Mavatel, to nullify a Gezar Din. However, Hashem said, besides for that school of thought, there's another school of thought that doesn't believe that changing your place really does anything. However, I'm telling you that going to Eretz Yisrael will accomplish what you desire. It will enable you to have children because of the special merit, the special schus of being in Eretz Yisrael. That's what you need, Avram, in order to be sure that you'll be able to have children. And of course, Avram understood the message from Hashem, and he decided not to make just a little short trip. He made the big trip, the big journey, the life-changing, transformative journey for Avram and for the future of the Jewish people. And he traveled to Eretz Canaan / Eretz Yisrael, and that is where his future truly began, and our future truly began as well. Just to add that we should merit to see total victory and total peace in Eretz Yisrael as quickly and as soon as possible, and we should merit to go to Eretz Yisrael, certainly, Emir Hashem, God willing, to visit as many times as we can, to live there if possible, and to be there together in the time of Mashiach. It should come speedily in our days. Yasher Koach for joining in the learning in the Zera Shimshon this week. We look forward to learning again together on next week's Parsha.